do the invocation for this evening. I see someone coming in. Let's go, feeling the spirit. Would you like to share something with us for our invocation this evening? Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, I think everybody was going to stand. And this may not be exactly what you guys intend, but I just got back from Montgomery, Alabama. I learned in very close proximity more about the history of that place and the history of our nation there through the civil rights movement, the work of Dr. King, Claudette Colvin, and Rosa Parks, and countless others who go unnamed. And I come back solemn and sober and reflecting on our promises when we say that we are here to serve the community. And we're all here because we have made a promise, either elected officials, some of us who will pledge allegiance to the flag in just a couple of moments, to the firemen who are taking new positions. And this poem is called City Hall Sermon. My mother always said, I'm a Baptist preacher. And though that isn't exactly how things turned out, at least for now. But I am here to remind you of our greatest blessing and most intimidating commandment, bearing true witness by keeping our promises. Promises are not decorations to beautify halls of power. Neither are they mere tickets to get us in those halls, tossed aside once inside. When we forge a promise, make a vow, take an oath, we are practicing divination. We create something in our image, and we are responsible to breathe life into the clay that are the words we utter, to call light into the dark unknowns of tomorrow. They call it swearing because to not keep it is profane, an abdication of power, a dereliction of duty. I used to believe the worst promise to break is the one you made with yourself, but I am no longer absorbed by my own self-importance, prestige, or pretense, at least for now. And I know the worst promises to break are the ones with people we convince to trust us, the people we are supposed to protect, no matter the threat to our reputation, our comfort, and even our physical safety. I find myself reflecting on what it means to stay faithful, to make and keep promises each day until prophecy blossoms into fruition. If we are not committing ourselves to what we said we'd do, then we are committing our gravest sin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orozco. Now we're gonna face the flag and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Linda, may we please have a roll call?
Mr. Butler,
Here.
Ms. Cepeda Freitas,
Here.
Mr. Daubert,
Here.
Ms. Cabin Hendershits. Here. Ms. Reed,
Here.
Ms. Ventura,
Here.
Mr. Walton, President. 6 present, 1 absent.
Mr. Waltman, Council President Waltman couldn't be here with us this evening. He's feeling a little under the weather, so let's keep him in our thoughts and in our prayers. Okay, so we had executive session was held at the close of the April 4th Committee of the Whole regarding real estate and litigation. And we're going to move on now to, oh, and prior to this evening's meeting, we definitely had an executive session. And what are we titling that? Litigation as well. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to one of the best parts of the agenda, which is proclamations and presentations. And we have some awards we're going to be presenting this evening. So I'm going to pass it on to first Mr. Daubert.
I have the pleasure of reading the commendation recognizing Greek Independence Day. So here it goes. Whereas, after 400 years of rule by the Ottoman Turks, Greece declared its independence on March 25th, 1821. Long before that historic day, ancient Athenians shaped the Greek culture that valued human liberty and dignity. Today, on Greek Independence Day, it is essential to recognize the ancient Greek influence in shaping the Constitution of the United States and to celebrate the Greek American heritage that continues to fortify our communities and enhance our society. And whereas, assured by history, mutual respect, and common ideals, America and Greece have been firm allies in the great struggles for liberty. During the dark days of World War II, Greece helped the force of freedom resist and triumph over the might of Nazi Germany. Following World War II, Greece again united with the forces of freedom, becoming a solid and important member of the NATO alliance. And whereas the desire for freedom that has existed throughout Greek history and country, these immigrants have enriched our common society inestimably. Now, therefore, it is with great pride and honor that on this day, the city of Reading recognizes the celebration of Greek Independence Day. Council calls upon the citizens of Reading to observe this day, acknowledging the many accomplishments of Greek American citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Greek Independence Day. Especially to our former Councilman Stratt. I hope he's watching and tuning in. The next proclamation, Donna will do the honors.
Okay, step up. Anthony's getting double time tonight, so we're glad. I will read the commendation. The City of Reading City Council celebrates Anthony Orozco, who has been named the 9th Berks County Poet Laureate by Reading Area Community College. I believe this is for 2021 and 2022, correct? Whereas Mr. Orozco graduated with a degree in journalism from the University of Cincinnati. And whereas Mr. Orozco came to Reading in the spring of 2012 and became the Latino beat reporter and later the City Hall reporter for the Reading Eagle. And whereas Mr. Orozco became the curator, editor, and organizer of Penn Street, City of Poems Anthology, an art installation project in 2020 after leaving the Eagle. Mr. Orozco is also known as Glyph in poetry circles. And whereas Mr. Orozco continues to report on the city of Reading for WITF, several public radio stations around the Commonwealth, and NPR. He is a proud member to honor the determination, enthusiasm, and accomplishments of Anthony Orozco, who is devoted to the arts and the city of Reading, and who through his dedication continues to contribute to his community. Presented this April 11th, 2022, signed by Johanny Cepeda Freitas, our council vice president, presented by myself and Councilwoman Marcia Goodman Hintershitz. Anthony, thank you. And Anthony also delivered at our introduction of our Reading 275 a stirring poem to complete the ceremony. So thank you for doing that. So, Anthony.
Well, I already read my poem for the night. And thank you for letting me share that. Just to reiterate again, that seeing the work up close of people who put themselves in harm's way and uncertainty's way and did not know that they would change the world for the better for it. I think we should all reflect on what we're doing with our time. We do not have much time here. And when you say that you are here for the community, when I say that I am here for the community, I hope to God that I mean it. And I hope that I can fulfill that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Something happened today that made me look at things from a different point of view due to the poem you shared with us about the bicycle riders and how they like to interact with the community. And at first, when they were doing their wheelies down Penn Street, I had my normal reaction of being angry and being saying, who do they think they are? And then I remembered your poem and how to look at things from a different perspective. And so it made me realize I need to embrace them rather than being angry. And I need to look at what are they trying to say by the way that they want to embrace this community. So thank you for helping me. And I think that anyone sitting here needs to be able to become familiar with Anthony's poetry because it makes us understand Reading and our city in a much different point of view. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the fire department swearing in ceremony. And Linda will lead that for us.
I, John Naylor, solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I, John Naylor, do further solemnly swear that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of a lieutenant. No. the duties of a Lieutenant, sorry, with fidelity. I, Jason Batts. I, Jason Batts. Solemnly swear. That I will uphold the Constitution of the United States. Of the United States. And the Constitution. The Constitution. Of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Against all enemies. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. Foreign and domestic. And I will bear true faith. Faith. And allegiance to the same. I, Jason Batts. I, Jason Batts. Further solemnly swear. Further solemnly swear. That I take this obligation freely. I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation. Purpose occupation. That I will well. And faithfully discharge. With fidelity. I, Michael Snitsky. Do solemnly swear. That I will uphold the Constitution. Of the United States. And the Constitution. Of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith. And allegiance to the same. I, Michael Snitsky. Do further solemnly swear. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation. Purpose and evasion. That I will well. Faithfully discharge. The duties of deputy chief. With fidelity.
Congratulations, Lieutenant John Naylor, Lieutenant Jason Batts, and Chief Michael Sininsky. Thank you for your service. Also, congratulations to Anthony Orozco for enlightening us and for sharing your talent with the community. We're going to move on now to public comment. And how many speakers do we have, Linda, signed up for this evening? Okay. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Reed to please read over the rules.
Okay, thank you, Madam Vice President. To comment at a regular business meeting, citizens can register by calling or emailing the city clerk's office by noon on the day of the regular meeting. Instructions to access the virtual meeting app or dial-in will be provided upon registration. The contact number is 610-655-6205 or email council@reading.gov. Public comment for regular business meetings will also be accepted in writing by 4 p.m. the day of the meeting through an email to council@readingpa.gov. Those wishing to provide in-person comment at a regular meeting in city council chambers must sign a sheet by 7 o'clock at the start of the formal meeting. The procedure to signing a registration sheet was suspended, but is now back in action. Public speaking rules adopted by council allow those speaking on agenda matters to speak for 5 minutes and 3 minutes for non-agenda matters. Comments posted in Zoom chat and on Facebook are not considered public comment, and a response may not occur. All remarks must be directed to council's body and not to the council member or public, elected or appointed official in attendance. Any comment that is personally offensive or impertinent will not be read into the record. Comments on agenda matters are limited to 5 minutes in length, and comments on non-agenda matters are limited to 3 minutes in length.
Thank you, Councilwoman Reed. And then we have Antonia. You can come up to the podium, please, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay. I would like you to pass this on to the council.
And while they're passing, you can begin.
Surely.
Antonia, thank you.
I've been residing in Reading for about years. I've been at 555 Center Avenue for the last 12 years. And I purchased the property. It was considered to be commercial. It seems like Reading does not have a mixed-use occupancy label for places that are partially commercial and the rest of it is residential. So therefore, it exists because I've been receiving code violations stating that the house is commercial. There hasn't been anything in that property that's commercial for the last. I would like to read this to you because it's just thoroughly frustrating that I'm living next to a couple that's actually because I purchased the property at a much lower price than they were offered. And they have been harassing by calling codes for 12 years. They have called codes at least 50 or 60 times. Of course, it's anonymous, but anonymous doesn't mean that I don't know who's doing it or who they actually bring into their little army in order to do whatever they feel they want to do. I purchased the property at which I've been residing since 2010 from being a member of the Historical Society. She informed me before the sale took place that she had been told not to sell me the house. It seems that the level of prejudice against Hispanics was and still is extremely high. Since the city of Reading does not have a mixed-use occupancy label for properties which are used both for business, she had her real estate office in the living room in the first floor, as well as 5 bedrooms, an additional living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and a bathroom in the rest of the house. The label designated for this property is commercial. This obviously is its main use. Codes has this property as being commercial with no residential, despite the fact that this is not the case. During the last 12 years, I've objected to having a neighbor from 5th Street break and enter into somebody else's yard to assert her distasteful opinions to me. Instead of asking, how are you doing with your cancer? It is, when are you going to clean your yard? My next neighbors, Dennis Spot and Jeffrey Rollins, moved in about 2 months after I did. I've been using codes by making anonymous phone calls in order to harass me. I guess they became incensed by the fact that BJ Wagner sold the house to me at a much lower amount of money than it had been offered to them. They were not happy at all. They have gone so far as to encourage a member of the codes department, Doug McGregor, to jump into my yard from their property, pictures of my yard. What is interesting is that he had his back against the house behind me to take pictures. And in order to be able to take such pictures, he had to have his back there. Isn't that breaking and entering and against the law?
Excuse me, Antonia, your 3 minutes is up. You can wrap it up,
Surely.
please, so we can proceed.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
would like codes to see I would like to see if the city council can actually take some action against the anonymity of phone calls that codes receives constantly on the same subject matter. They should know by now that this is harassment. And therefore, it's not exactly the best way to, to encourage neighborhoods to gather together and be pleasant to each other. This is not acceptable. And having people like this, obviously, I don't understand. I guess the more money he has, the more money he wants. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry I'm being so upset by this.
Thank you for being here and expressing your concerns. We typically don't respond back. We were going to continue with our agenda and then we'll have some comments towards the end. Okay, thank you for being here. The next speaker we have listed is Evelyn Morrison. I don't see her here. I don't see her logged into Zoom. So that will conclude our speakers for this evening, and we're going to move on to the agenda. Okay. So we have the consent agenda legislation. Award of contract for the City Hall roof replacement, Phase 1 to Mid-State Roofing and Coating, 4088 East Main Street, Belleville, PA, at the submitted price of $464,000, $465. Earlier, it was explained to us that it's for a section of City Hall, the one towards, the side that faces Washington Street, has some water damage, so we need some repairs. The next award of contract is for the purchase of 2017 Stetco Catch Basin Cleaner from Jack Doheny Companies in Northville, Missouri, for the total submitted price of $180,000. Jack Doheny Companies is sole distributor for Stetco, and we have found no other companies that make a unit like this. It was described to us that this is a truck with that serves as a basin cleaner. The next word of contract is for the purchase of a 2023 Ford E450 AEV ambulance to the Specklin Emergency Vehicle Sales and Service, Scottsdale, PA, in the amount of $190,000. Specklin EV, a CoStar's vendor, and the contract is reflective of the CoStar's price. Next, we have an award of contract for city park improvements to Empire Services at the bid price of $843,100. The project consists of the removal and or pruning of trees, clearing and grubbing, provision of earthwork, porous asphalt walkway, segmental block piers, landscaping, installation of owner-furnished modular play and swing structures, benches, and safety surface mulch, and all incidental related work. It was described that this will be funded by CDBG. Then we have a resolution for the purchase of one 2022 Ford Transit prisoner transport van with a 5-year, 75,000 mile warranty from Ford Inc., Mountain Joy, PA, for $80,375 through CoStar's and Fund. Request a motion to accept the consent, or,
Do by acclamation.
okay, great. So that takes us to the administrative report. Frank, you'll be doing us the.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Councilwoman Vice President, members of City Council, and the viewing public. This evening, I'll be providing a brief summary of the mayor's report, which is separate from the administrative report. The mayor's report did capture some of the public outreach activities he's doing, and the administrative report talks about the inner workings of the city government. So I'll start with the mayor's report. I'll give you a brief summary of that. On March 28th, mayor's after-school outreach effort started in response to the spike in youth violence. He has visited Reading Middle Schools, and he's visited Reading High, and with community leaders and himself, when kids are leaving school, they're providing information on youth activities, youth programs, things that the youth may not be familiar with. And this is just a beginning of a greater dialogue. On March 30th, the mayor actually met with community leaders and met with educators for roundtable number 2 to combat youth violence. And it was held at Gardenia's downtown campus. And future meetings will be approximately the 3rd Thursday at the month at different sites. So more details to follow. On March 31st, the city hosted and honored the Reading Pride celebration of the transgender flag. In recognition of the Transgender Day of Visibility, the city celebrated the contributions and awareness about discrimination faced by transgender people worldwide. Because of the inclement weather, a lot of the activity took place in council chambers, but the flag was raised in front of City Hall. On April 1st, the mayor hosted on behalf of the city, the first Friday event downtown that started at 4th and Penn. And it was very well received. There's DJ music, face painting, vendors, food trucks. The next first Friday will be May 6th. So with those who were able to make the first Friday, April 1st, while it was a great event, the weather was not on our side. As the sun went down, it got pretty cold. So but as we move forward into the summer, we won't have those same type of issues. Also, just a reminder, Mayor is continuously collecting donations for Ukraine, such as batteries, sleeping bags, canned goods, and the donations will go to Ukrainian Cultural Center of New Jersey. We just did I think, internal email of a flyer that went out today on what's being sought and where the donations are going. So that's the mayor's report. I will get into the administrative report. The Mayor Moran is aware of the volunteer-based group called the Cultural Coalition that's been initiated by Alvernia's Opaque Institute. They are providing strategic planning for ongoing initiatives, and the mayor will help support these efforts. The coalition is being chaired by Adonis Fleming and the special assistant in the office of the managing director, Maritza Loisa. The coalition consists of 3 task force: arts and culture, community and neighborhood revitalization, and education and workforce development. So there'll be more information to follow as this group undergoes their task force meetings. Mayor Moran announced that Reading was chosen as one of the 10 communities, along with the greater Delaware River watershed, to host a local climate corps. The corps, it's part of AmeriCorps program, and they're accepting applications for the Reading Climate Corps. And members will serve on a crew from spring 2022 to fall 2022. This opportunity is open to Reading community members 18 to 24. And on behalf of the mayor, he thanks City Council for being able to support this initiative through a resolution and allocating the proper funds for our contribution to make this a successful endeavor. And just a quick background, the Climate Corps members will experience environmental stewardship in local parks, waterways, and other public services, professional development, skill building, and connections to career paths, supportive services to remove barriers to participating and giving back to the community of Reading. As I've shared in multiple, the last few administrative reports, you've seen there's a lot of data that we're providing, and certainly there's been questions about what the data meant. So we are tightening it up. We're starting the process, and in future committee of the whole meetings, at the invitation to council, I like to have directors go through some of this data directly so they can help interpret it, what it means. Some things are just stand out alone. The community quality of life ticketing, there was 124 issued last month, and 66 of them was accumulated garbage. That tells us we're still struggling with that issue. And something that the community development director reminded me from the last administrative report is that the quality of life ticketing is for very small, minor offenses. When there's a large community accumulation of trash and a large accumulation of quality of life issues, then you're getting cited on a PMI ordinance, which carries a larger penalty. So when you see quality of life ticketing, that's not always reflective of how we're handling quality of life issues. And I hope in the near future to have reports on the PMI violations. So there's a lot of stuff there. I won't go through all of it today. It's been provided to you on the zoning division, on the planning department, on property inspections, on applications, very useful data. One of the additions to the report that we're providing is update on downtown. In the beginning of the report, I mentioned about the First Friday, which is our first event of the year, but wanted to report our progress with what we're working with downtown. And the Reading Police Department now has a presence downtown out of their substation, and they report all their quality of life concerns and to the downtown coordinator regarding trash, security checks of empty storefronts, suggestions to support a safer downtown. So there is an officer dedicated to the downtown coordinator, downtown corridor, not corridor, the downtown corridor. Also, you saw the resolution that's set for introduction tonight. The downtown coordinators are processing of hiring additional downtown staff. It's a follow-up from the report she provided at the beginning of the year, and it's just a follow-up on the reconfiguration of the resources that she's looking for. In regards to the finance department, the Citizen Service Center, probably many of you know, is actually under the finance department. So I got their weekly report, and it's interesting because, well, 94 requests for trash pickup. We still have this sewer backup, 543 at 22%. So that's definitely worth looking into of if that's normal or not. I really don't know. So we have to dig into this data to understand it. So when we provide this data, it's only a beginning of the process to understand operations. Interesting fact, 181 people asked for recycling bins. So that's encouraging. Clean City Project, 17 people inquired about help cleaning up. So there's a lot of information provided in the report. In addition to, for the finance department, they've been very busy this month in providing DCED's annual financial report. Now, Herbine, our external auditor, prepares it, but the city reviews and submits. So there's definitely some time and effort that we put into it. The AG 385 pension census report was completed this month, Act 205 pension report, and we're currently gathering documentation and coordinating with the city auditor and other officials on the annual external audit, which I believe will be discussed in the near future. As I move on to Public Works, there's some interesting tree trimming. That's always been a question. People ask about, how we complete tree trimming. So tree trimming is basically, they call it the crown, raising the crown so there's more visibility. It's including pruning of the dead branches, which can be actually very dangerous if they fall off the tree, and dying in diseased wood. Something to keep in mind, these trees are on private property, and each municipality is a little bit different, but in the city of Reading, the tree is the same thing like a sidewalk. The tree is responsibility of the owner. But we do work with grants and other funding sources to be able to address tree trimming. So what we're doing now is Spruce Street from South 3rd to South 7th, Willow Street from South 5th to South 7th, West Douglas Street from North Front to Schuylkill Avenue, which is actually currently underway. That's taking place as we speak. And lastly, in the report, in regards to Bernhard's Dam, Public Works held a Bernhard's Dam pre-construction meeting on April 5th. The physical construction is anticipated to begin April 18th. So what does that actually mean? Well, the project's initial phase involves gradual removal of the rock masonry spillway. The drawdown is approximately 1 foot a day of water, which will take 2 weeks. This will be done by individually removing the large rock in the spillway. The purpose of not completely, but draining the lake to a certain capacity is for us to be able to inspect the dam, because we know there's concerns and conditions. But the only way to do that really is to be able to draw down the water, to be able to see exactly the condition of the dam and what the next steps may be. So we're a little premature in deciding what the future of that looks. I think we're gathering fact finding now, and once the fact finding's established, then we come back to council with proposals. Do we retain the dam? Do we remove the dam? Does it become something like Angelica Park? I mean, there's so many possibilities, but we're not there yet. It's very important that we do the drawdown as soon as possible. The construction is anticipated to last 15 days. The spillway is 13 feet tall. And basically what's going to happen is sort of like what happened in Angelica. Every lake has a stream usually, right? So like Angelica, so you'll have the stream go through as you see Angelica, but the lake part, which is not a natural phenomenon, is going to be that water is going to be drawn down. So there's more to follow in regards to that, and we do know there's EPA issues that we also have to address at the same time. So that is the administrative report, the summary of both the mayor's activities and the administrative report for council this evening.
At this moment, we'll open up the floor. Does anyone have any comments, questions? Donna?
I have about 3 here. I'm going to start and ask you, because usually offer this, Frank. Why isn't the mayor with us tonight?
The mayor is not able to be with us due to unscheduled commitment that came up that he needed to attend to. So I was told, right prior to the meeting, he did intend to be at the meeting today, but this unscheduled commitment that was work related was something he had to attend to.
Okay. Okay, secondly, I'd like us to clarify exactly what the situation is with the building at 435 Penn. I think there's a lot of concern and perhaps some misinformation that's out there. Is demo going to occur? Is it just slightly unsafe? I know it's posted saying that the walls are bowing and the roof is caving in. I think the public needs to know what truly is the situation there and what our obligation is to let the public know candidly what has happened.
Well, the measures that we've seen, and Fred probably can speak to this better because he's been working directly with the inspectors and the contractors, but we're taking precautionary measures, which is the key. So by securing that fencing, we know that it's stabilized. How we move forward is something that we're working on as of this week, because you have the demolition company, you have the different contractors, you have the code, the building inspectors to take a look at what exactly, if there's a partial demolition or is it repair work. We take this very seriously, but with that protective fencing being there, that was a precautionary measure to ensure that if something would happen, that there's an area of a safety zone. We will keep council updated as things become available, but we're working our due diligence on it all weekend. We have a contractor at demolition, and they're taking a look at the building. Harb looked at it, which was interesting. And many of you may know this, and I didn't know this, but the facade of that building is not the original. That came from another building through a Harb's. Yes. Donna, you would know that. I'm surprised. I didn't know that. So, and that's another aspect of all this, but public safety is first. We don't want to take a guess. We don't want to take the risk. So we take these precautionary measures to make sure that public safety is paramount. Once we secure that, then we take a rational approach here to decide, okay, does there a partial demolition? Is there repair work? What is it exactly we have to do? Because whatever we undertake, will be a large project, and we're capable and willing and ready to do what it takes with that build.
As well with that facade, because that was moved as part of the historic tax credits, and with the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission back in 1982, the local company Eschbach Brothers, who actually did the moving of the facade, the unit block of North Fifth Street to that particular building. So that was done with a lot of, I guess it was Meridian back then, a lot of the historic tax credits that were available in the early 80s, as we saw with American House and many other things. So I hope we can start taking some actual steps, no matter what happens with that building. But if it's precautionary steps, of course, public safety is critical. That's the top thing. But let's take the steps to make sure, let's have the city appropriately take those steps to make sure that that facade is salvaged. If the building must come down, that facade is salvaged. Again, that goes back to PHMC and all sorts of National Historic Register things, tax credits that were offered back then. So I'll be happy to work with you in any capacity. If you need me, it's fine. But we do have the local company that did it. Hopefully they have the records of how they disassembled and reassembled it. And that at least those records would be important for whomever takes and ever stored. But I just really feel that there was really mixed messages going out because over the weekend I got an email, which I did not share, but basically Tory saying this person knew the city was going to be demolishing this building and shame on us for not saving the facade and who, very accusatory. That's public speech. That's their right. Back to legal reasons, but the word is out there and people are spreading it and we need to provide accurate information. You did that too, but as much as we can keep that updated, we have to do that because that building for the downtown is in the quarter of downtown. And we can celebrate First Fridays and all that stuff, but until we take care of our own stuff and until we finally get the RFQs and get these buildings moving, we've got to be cognizant of the public reaction to these things. And I think that's extremely, extremely important. And I have one other thing, Frank, regarding the Riverdale runoff. I was out there this weekend with the heavy rains. They're getting from Amazon warehouse and the industrial park back there in Muhlenberg off Sophianis, and from the car pretty much inundating the streets that were recently paved there, High Street, Downing Street, Berkeley Road. Sediment, rocks are coming down. It's more than just gravel that's coming down with these heavy rains. We just did total paving of Riverdale. We've got to meet with Muhlenberg and get something done out there. Checked my notes. I was guaranteed there'd be a meeting back in October. I think October 15th. It never happened. So Frank, I know you have a lot on your plate, but whatever we could do to facilitate a meeting with Muhlenberg and get something done, the owners of that.
So a meeting never happened? I was under the impression that a meeting never happened with Muhlenberg. Is that, I didn't know that. So I'm going to.
Managing director at that point promised me he was going to set it up. We never had the meeting. We were going to have a two-tiered. One was with Muhlenberg Township manager, then the second was with residents of Riverdale and Muhlenberg that are impacted by traffic. So there's two different issues, the runoff issue and as well as signage on River Road, on Route 12 to get the large tractor trailers to Hartman Road and then back on Sophianis to the industrial park. So several things, and unfortunately it never occurred. So
Okay.
You can put it among the 1,000 things that are on your plate, Frank.
That's okay. All right. I know there's I had some file here of some activity, so I'll review that first and then go from there.
Okay. You know what you need. I'll help you, Frank.
Thank you.
Marcia?
No. And first of all, thank you for the thorough report, Frank. And I concur with Councilwoman Reed, and I think probably my other fellow council members. If we cannot have the mayor here for us to have dialogue with him, we need to find a way that we can be talking with him, but around serious issues, because of missing pieces. And as much as Frank in his role of managing director tries to fill in the pieces are very direct things. I'd like to communicate with the mayor, and I don't want to do it through a text message where I get a little like thing. I want to be able to have genuine communication. So it may be issues in my district, it may be issues that affect all. And the property on Penn Street, first of all, I want to commend Public Works, the police department. They've been very diligent to make sure that area is secure until the fencing went up. I think it's paradoxical that both myself and other council members are making an issue of that broken window, which has been there a year and a half. This isn't a broken window, this is a broken building. Okay, and even though the press release stated repairs, what I've been hearing from other folks who've had contact with the contractors, with other in-city employees, is that it probably is going to be at a higher level than just repairs, whatever, however that's defined. So I think it's important that we up to date, be upfront with the public, because that's how they'll trust us. If we give them clear information, if we're, not being completely clear and transparent, as Andrew said, as our respect for when we take the oath of office, we have to be that to these, to our constituents. We can't be neighbors if we're not neighbors. So I'm hoping that we can learn through this experience what it takes to give complete information. And I applaud Councilwoman Reed for the work she's trying to do. That facade is just stunning. But I can see that the difficulty in removal. If it doesn't happen as part of the plan of the project, I will be heartbroken if I go down there, more than heartbroken, I'll be outraged if I go down there and see that that facade is disappearing and attention hasn't been paid to it.
Our goal is not to demolish a building if we don't have to. If we don't have to demolish it, we don't want to do that. That's not our goal. The one thing is what people say, like contractors, and what we hear from a lot of people, because I myself am not an expert and I had my own opinions when I first be aware of the situation. That's why we have a structural building engineer come in. This is why we get right to the factual situation so we know what's at hand. And anything that I provide on behalf of the city is the best information that I have available that I feel comfortable backing up. I wouldn't provide anything to any council or the public that I wouldn't be comfortable asking somebody else. And I take the cautious route at times because I'm concerned about, yes, things look a certain way, but I don't want to create speculation because sometimes that goes off. We will provide everything as factual. And there is a lot of thought. There's no question. There's a lot of discussion. We have it internally. What about this? What about that? But a decision has not been made yet. And when a decision is made on what has to be done, I rest assure you that we will make any person available, building official, because whoever's involved, that you can understand the thought process and why we made that decision. We'll be very transparent about it. But a decision hasn't been made. There's a lot of talk yet. And we're getting close to making a firm decision based on facts.
Right. And again, I think that it's been noted by the police department, the homeless folks that have lived there. I notified the Coalition to End Homelessness. Once that placard appeared on the building and it was publicly acknowledged that it wasn't safe, that was the time I called the Coalition to End Homelessness for them to be aware that place wasn't safe and there was signage and such up there. So those folks will be finding another place. Okay, that doesn't mean that's going to happen. They're not going to continue to, that's their nature, is that's where they feel safe and that's where they're protected. But, it just needs to be ongoing. Okay. The other thing was just a thank you to our EMS and our Reading Police Department working together with the county. We've had, unfortunately, another challenge with contaminated drugs that contain fentanyl and a significant number of overdoses and unfortunately some deaths that go along with them. We're having just extraordinary number of casualties with this, and it's a health emergency. And I would think that it would be good if we can work together with all the partners that are out there to continue to look at what we can do. And it's hard to be proactive, but there are things that can be done that are non-traditional that can help with those individuals and be able to get the word out there on the street as far as how dangerous these drugs are. And I don't want to get into a lot of discourse about stigma and everything that goes along with that, but just know that these are lives. And I see one of our thank you very much. These are lives that we're saving here. And if we can't revive them with Narcan, get them to the emergency room, they're going to be victims just like people died of COVID. People die of overdoses. So let's just be respectful and see what we can do. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment or question? I have just a follow from the regarding the I believe it was maybe a little over $1 million of money, COVID-related money for families who are facing eviction. Are we spending that?
I believe, well, yes, the auditor brought up, I believe at one of the public meetings about our capacity to be able to draw down these funds in appropriate time. And we'll feel confident as long as there's a need, we'll be able to draw down those funds. I do know I saw some emails today. There was some inquiry in regards to some more detailed questions on how the program, how people are accepted, how they're not accepted. And I'm working on providing a response that I will share with council to give a more detailed thing on the process. But if there's a need, we're drawing down that funds as quickly as we can.
And then just a follow-up to downtown. what is the role or future role of the Hope Rescue Mission?
Well, as was presented in the past, the Hope Rescue Mission is a partner in our cleaning up downtown and having a positive presence downtown. So they're a partner. They're not our exclusive group that handles this, because Public Works is a big part of this and possibly other organizations in the future. But the Hope Rescue Mission currently provides us sufficient services in regards to cleaning downtown. So we haven't talked about expanding that yet. I don't know. That's something that'll come up in the future. This is the first year, I would say. They got on board last fall, I believe. So once again, I keep bringing up data, right? Let's see how that's working and if there's a need for expansion. There may be. We just haven't been operating long enough under this auspice to be able to gauge of where we go. Because as the weather gets warmer, there's more pedestrians, there's more activity downtown. Therefore, there's more cleaning issues just because of trash and debris. So we'll be able to provide more update on that. But right now, it was a pilot program, as we said before. So we haven't completed that pilot program yet.
I'm definitely interested in the data. I always appreciate how we with the organizations that are within our community and how we partner up to get things accomplished. So I'm very interested in the data and see how we've evaluated their performance throughout the year and see how we continue to integrate them and maybe other organizations in other areas that we lack in. Thank you, Frank. Anyone else, any question, comment? Okay, so that takes us to our report from our auditor, Maria.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The first item, my report tonight, is the admission fee tax, annual day as of February 28th, 2022. The majority of the revenue collected for the admission fee tax comes from the Reading Royals, the Reading Fields, and all the events, concerts held at the Santander Arena and the Performing Arts Center. As I mentioned at the March 14, 2022 council meeting, due to the pandemic, only $200,000 was budgeted for this revenue line item in 2021. Even though no revenue was recorded during the first quarter of 2021, a total of $297,567.26 was collected as of year end. In 2022, the administration again opted to budget $200,000 for this revenue line item. And for the first 2 months of this year, $102,623.77 has been collected. We can see that this revenue is coming back, so that's a good sign for the it's a good sign for the city general fund balance. Second item is the earning income tax and earning income tax prior year or day as of March 1st, 2022. As of March 31st, 2022, the city's general fund has recorded $6,179,219.95 in revenue for EIT and EIT prior year. Since most of the EIT prior year revenue is received during the year, the majority of the revenue has been recorded in 2022 is for the EIT prior year line item. As of 1st, 2022, the EIT prior year revenue has already exceeded its budget target by $616,312.78. In 2021, about $5.8 million was collected as of year end, but for just the first quarter 2022, about $6.1 million has already been collected. So approximately $242,000 more in revenue has already been recorded for EIT prior year in 2022 in comparison to year 2021. The city will be exceeding the Act 47 this year. So for 2023 and future years, there is a high probability that the city will no longer be collecting no resident EIT tax. However, the EIT prior year revenue that will be recorded during 2023 will most likely not be impacted 100% any significant 100%. Any significant negative impact to EIT prior year revenue might not appear until 2024 because most of the EIT prior year revenue recorded during the 2023 will be from 2022. When no resident EIT prior year, we still be collected. I just want to give an update on the annual audit and financial report. This report was completed by our external auditor, Her Bank Company, and it was filed by Michael Oppenheimer, the city controller. It was reviewed by the city auditor and also by Michael Oppenheimer. This report is showing an audited general fund balance of about $5 million. Although it is too early to know for certain, part of this general fund could be attributed to the surplus of real estate transfer tax that the city recorded in 2021. This is my report for tonight. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Anyone have questions or comments for Maria? Go ahead, Marcia.
Thank you very much for the detailed report. And we did have an audit committee meeting last week too. I don't know, was there anything, Maria, that you felt were highlights from that meeting?
Yes, we had the first audit committee meeting of this year last week. Her Bank Company, our external auditor, were there, and they provided like, of the 2020, not an overview, but they provided like detail on the 2022 audit. They already started on April the 4th. They here this week. Today we just have 4 auditors in-house. So I can see, they put in a lot of work for us to move forward with the 2022 audit. I want to say thank you to the finance department for all the information that they already have provided to our external auditor. So thank you.
Anyone else? No? Thank you so much, Maria, for your report. We appreciate the work that you do. So thank you. Okay, so that we don't have any reports this evening from boards, authorities, directors, or commissions. We're going to move on to ordinances for final passage. Bill number 29-2022, amending the 2022 Fund 43 City Facilities Construction Fund budget to create an appropriation of $400,000 for the sidewalk replacement program. The funds will be paid by budget amendment in the city's facilities construction fund budget. This was introduced at the March 28th regular meeting. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Now we're open for discussion. Any comments or questions? Linda, may we have a roll call, please?
Motion was made by Councilor Reeves, seconded by Councilor Daubert to enact Bill number 29, 2022, which amends the Fund 43 City Facilities Construction Fund by moving $400,000 to fund the program. Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Peter Freitas?
Yes.
Mr. Daubert?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman Hintershitz?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
Next bill is 30-2022, authorizing the mayor to accept land donated by the Honorable Arthur E. and Louise C. Grimm at 2049, help me with the word again, Hessian Boulevard in the city of Reading, and conveying a city-owned undeveloped parcel on New Holland Road to Burke's Nature. This was introduced at the March 28th regular meeting. May I please have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Open for discussion or comments?
I think that this is an excellent partnership. First of all, to thank some of the legwork that Councilwoman Reed did. Appreciate Judge Grimm and Louise Grimm for gracefully donating that land, which is actually abutting Mineral Spring Park. So it's a logical fit. And indeed, Councilwoman Cepeda Freitas, Hessian Camp, due to the Hessian soldiers that lived there during the Revolutionary War. So it's a very area if you really want to visit it. But what's really good is that it's a great partnership with Burke's Nature. And I just cannot speak more highly of the work that they've done in our wooded areas throughout the city with Angelica Park, with Neversink Mountain. So this is a natural fit. And I think we should continue the dialogue with them as we have so much woodland that we need support as far as how to preserve and maintain.
Anyone else? May I have a roll call, please, Linda?
Motion was made by Counselor Goodman Henderson, seconded by Counselor Reed, to enact Bill number 3022, which authorizes the acceptance of land donated by the Grimms at Hessian Boulevard and conveying a city-owned undeveloped property to Berks Nature on New Holland Road. Ms. Cepeda Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Dauber,
Yes.
Ms. Goodman Henderson.
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Ventura,
Yes.
Mr. Butler.
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That brings us to our final ordinance for final passage, 31-2022, amending by eliminating City Code Chapter 23, Part 2, Penn, Chapter 396 Parks, Part 2, Penn Square, and the permitting process, which is inconsistent with Chapter 576, and reserving Part 2 for future use. This was introduced at the March 28th regular meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Open for comments. Donna?
This is really, as explained to us, pretty much a housekeeping ordinance, correct? Simply because the Penn Square Commission has not existed for 20-plus years, and we've had other iterations and may very likely have other iterations of that in the future. So this is just ordaining what has been in practice, or not been in practice, as the case may be.
Thank you, Councilwoman Reed. Anyone else? Linda, may we please have a roll call?
Motion was made by Counselor Reed, seconded by Counselor Butler, to enact Bill number 31-2022, which eliminates Square from Chapter 23 and eliminates it from the permitting process in Chapter 396 and 576. Mr. Daubert,
Yes.
Ms. Goodman Henderson,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Cepeda Freitas,
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is the introduction of new ordinances. At this point, I will pass. Councilman Butler.
For the introduction of new ordinances, first one, we have A, ordinance amending City Code Chapter 576, Part 12, parades, special events, and public gatherings by making revisions to the special event application process and the corresponding section of Chapter 212, fee schedule for special events. Moving on to ordinance B, we have amending the 2022 General Agency Fund 31 to reflect appropriation of funding in the amount of $152,500 for the lead hazard control program. The Community Development Department Property Maintenance Division will be Health Homes Initiative program targeting households with children 6 years old or younger and having been diagnosed with elevated blood lead level. The presence of lead in a child could cause developmental challenges, medically found to have a measurable concentration of lead in their blood. C, ordinance amending City Code Chapter 453, mobile vendors making corrections and adding provisions for vendors at the pagoda. Then we have D, ordinance amending City Code Chapter 23, Part 14, Code and License Appeals Board by adding mobile vendors appeals to the powers of this board. Then we have E, ordinance amending the position order, 2 of the 4 full-time ambassadors, leaving 2 at $20, 87 per hour for a total of $1,600 per employee per year. 6 part-time positions at a rate of $15 per hour at 20 hours per work for a total of $21,840. $1,000. Lastly, F, ordinance increasing the salary of the fire chief to $105,000.00 payable in an equal bi-monthly installments.
Thank you, Councilman Butler. We will have time to further discuss these ordinances at our next committee of the whole. And speakers have an opportunity to speak at our next council meeting as well. Okay, that takes us to resolution A, number 69-2022, authorizing a temporary parking regulation pilot program for the installation of parking stalls at prescribed locations within the city and parking requirements related thereto for a 90-day period pursuant to Chapter 576 Vehicles, Section 105 Experimental Regulations, effective July 1st, 2022, table 8th regular meeting. May I have a roll call, please? Oh, sorry. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Open for comment and/or discussion? Yes, Chris.
I'm going to be supporting this resolution, mostly because I know that we have to do something regarding parking. I'm very hopeful, but if I'm being 100% honest, I'm a little skeptical. I think there might also be some growing pains. And I'm really hopeful that there isn't some unforeseen outcome to this that we're not thinking about. But that said, and we do have to do something because there is clearly like a parking crisis in our city. So I'm really hoping it's going to work.
Thank you, Councilman Durbert. Ms. Reed?
And I think it's good to note that this has been undertaken as noted here by the Reading Parking Authority. They have paid the $20,000 engineering study. I think they said 5 skids, I believe, of paint. They've ordered. Then it will create about 11% more spaces than what are currently in those 31 blocks. So hopefully it will be something that will prove worthwhile by giving us spaces. Number two, by people maybe as they see that parking in a different kind of with a better point of reference. But I think it's a very good thing, so I'll be happy to support it as well.
Anyone else? No? Yes, Marcia?
Yeah, I was glad that the parking authority came in and explained this in more detail. And just for the public's clarity, the word stalls, an actual stall, it means they're just spaces that are painted on by lines. I share some of the concerns that Councilman Darbert does as far as the implementation of it. But because it's a short-term pilot, we will learn from the things that work and don't work. As I've shared earlier, people need to be able to learn how to appropriately park in the city, not taking up excess space and respecting fellow drivers when they are parallel parking. So it's just going to be an interesting piece, but I feel it's the first step. We have to have an overall plan to address the parking situation in the city.
And I would like to add that I appreciate the proactive efforts on behalf of the parking authority to address the parking crisis. So we shall see what the outcome is and then take it from there. And at this point, may I please have a roll call, Linda?
Motion was made by Councilor Goodman Hendershot, seconded by Councilor Daubert to adopt Resolution 69, 2022, which authorizes a temporary pilot program for the installation of parking stalls at prescribed locations within Reading for a 90-day period effective July 1st. Ms. Goodman Hendershot,
Yes.
Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Ventura,
Yes.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Cepeda Freitas,
Yes.
Mr. Daubert,
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
The next resolution is appointing Patty Bell to the library board. May, oh, we can do them together, absolutely. And also appointing Josephine Torres Boykins to the Equal Business Opportunity Board. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Now we're open for comments. Marcia?
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank the team on the nominations committee, Johanny, Wes. We had great interviews, again, continuing, and I feel like I'm almost channeling former Councilman Marmaru. We have excellent people coming forward to be able to fill these positions, but people passionate about the city. And so we continue to have great interviews and recommendations for appointments. So I think you're just going to see this continuing to happen. The only comment I want to make is we want to continue to work with the office for ones that haven't moved through his office so that we can interview for those vacant positions.
Any other comments? No. I also want to add that, you know, when we're in that position where we're getting to know people who are interviewing for these positions, it gives me such joy and pride to be in this city and in this community because we have so many members that are always willing to step up, step in, and contribute their time to make a difference. So thank you to everyone who's always actively engaged in our community and participating in these boards, authorities, and commissions. That may we please have a roll call.
Motion was made by Counselor Goodman Hinterstedt, seconded by Counselor Ventura, to adopt Resolution 72 and 73, 2022, which make appointments to the city's boards. Ms. Reed,
Yes.
Ms. Ventura,
Yes.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Cepeda Freitas.
Yes.
Mr. Daubert,
Yes.
Ms. Goodman Hinterstedt,
Yes.
6 yeas, no nays.
That brings us to the public comment, general matters section. The floor is open. If anybody would like to say something this evening. Donna?
Oh, there we go. Okay. Good Friday is obviously coming up Friday. Pastor Bruce Osterhout from Christ Lutheran Church has announced there'll be for people that want to gather at the church over to the Route 12 overpass where the unfortunate homicide occurred about 2.5 weeks ago. There's a memorial there, and the point of the march, of course, is to pray for peace in the city and hope for an end to the gun violence. And unfortunately, I guess today we had yet another episode of shooting. I guess, Melissa, that was in your district, 1000 block of Spring Street, I believe. So it's just this gun violence is just something that's so hard to understand, and why people, no matter what their ages are, and their ages do vary. It's often young people, but it's not always young people. But why guns seem to be the point of reference in deciding arguments or whatever. It's hard to understand. We also got notified in those of us who live in that there has been a change in a polling site, a temporary change. We will, in 19-1, be voting at Christ Lutheran Church. Of course, there's still the opportunity for people to have absentee ballots, mail-in ballots. But for those folks who are used to voting at the Glenside School polling site, because of work being done at that school, the polling site, or the elections site for the primary election will be at Christ Lutheran Church, which is off Lehigh Street and Schuylkill Avenue. I had something else, but I think that's it, so I'll defer to other folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Reed. Anyone else? Marcia?
Okay. And just to follow up on our concerns about violence, we will hope to be able to continue to work with all the mayor's initiatives. We do have a grassroots effort through Burke's Peace on Saturday, April the 30th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Burke's for Peace Walk starting at 2nd and Penn. And I just want to thank Edna for being able to organize all that, and a lot of good stakeholders involved in that effort, as well as the village with Radara McLennan working with street outreach and such. There's a lot of good things going on in the community. That being said, I think between what we're seeing with the gun violence and what we're seeing with the overdoses, we know there are many people that are so unsettled in their lives that they do things that are harmful to themselves. And we just together resources to be able to connect those folks. So that is one concern. Also, this Sunday, for those celebrating the Christian holiday of Easter, there is speakers there, prayers and such. So for all of you that celebrate Christ, please be able to join for that service.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Mr. Daubert?
Really quickly, I just, every time that there's a swearing in ceremony for any of our first responders, it really humbles me. And I think about how their willingness to serve in situations that are really, really trying. And you know, in a lot of ways, we make really important decisions, but we're sitting at a desk. They're running into a burning building. So I just want to thank you, and I really hope, you know, I want to wish all of those that were sworn in and all of our first responders well, and be safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, anyone else for comments? No? Okay, I'm just gonna make a couple of announcements. Well, first, I want to congratulate the One Love Project and Cafe Esperanza for organizing the community garden beautification across Hope Lutheran Church this Sunday. I hear they had a great turnout. There's great pictures and videos online on social media. So congratulations to them. Also, the Girls Empowerment Movement is collecting prom dress donations. They can be dropped off at the Wyomissing Restaurant and Bakery at 1245 Penn Ave. And there will be a prom party, if you will, on April 24th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Olivets Boys and Girls Club, Pandora, at the Pandora unit. So again, putting it out there, prom dresses, any prom dress donations, if you have any prom dresses you'd like to donate for a great cause, I don't see why not. Right? That's in style. Vintage comes back. Right. So you can drop them off at the Wyomissing Bakery and Restaurant. Yep. And a shout out to Miss Anissa Jordan for organizing this. Thank you, Marsha, for mentioning the Berks for Peace Youth Violence Prevention Week, which is from April 25th to April 29th. Also, this Saturday, there's a community Easter egg hunt from 2 to 4 at Reading Iron Playground. And also at Cafe Esperanza at 2 o'clock, there's a drag queen story hour. That is all I have for the Center Park Egg Hunt. Will also take place on Saturday at noon, Center Ave Park. And does anybody else have any more announcements of activities and events? No? We have a great, beautiful city with a multitude of activities, resources, and opportunities. So make sure you tap in. There's always something great to do in the city of Reading. That leaves me with announcing the next council meeting, the council meeting schedule, which Monday, April 18, we will have nominations and appointments committee at 4. And I don't know where the rest of my pages went. Thank you. Committee of the, and followed by committee of the whole at 5 p.m. We'll be having a presentation by Public Works, Fire and Police. Then Tuesday, April 19th, committee of the whole will be discussing ARPA, and that will take place at 5 p.m. Followed by Monday, April 25th, committee of the whole at 5, regular meeting at 7. And then Wednesday, April 27th, there's a conditional use hearing for 2404 Center Ave Banquet Hall at 5. There's also zoning map change of 12th and Exeter Streets, Albright Exeter Hall at 5:30 p.m. And that concludes this evening's agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn? Great. Have a good evening. Make it a great week. See you next time. Thank you.